Hello, thanks for joining us or for watching this digital recording. There are some additional folks that are hopping into the Zoom call, so I'm going to just be adding them for the next few minutes, and they'll be hopping in. So those of you joining, you're welcome to share, show your face or not, totally up to you. So this is our Grant Elementary virtual parent night on mental health and wellness, and I'm actually hoping to make this more of a regular occurrence. So Ashley and Holly, heads up, I will be bothering you in the next school year as well to work with our families and getting them more acquainted with some of the resources in our community. Little caveat, if you hear my dog barking at any point, I apologize. I decided I needed to come home to take care of her in between work and now. And with that being said, I'm going to turn the time over to our fabulous folks from SafeUT to get us going.
Wonderful. Hi, hello. My name is Ashley Postello. I am the project administrator for SafeUT. So I work with SafeUT at the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, but also have a dual reporting role with the Utah State Board of Education as well. So I am really that liaison, that line of communication between the SafeUT app and that program focusing on mental health, and then working in the schools with administrators and educators and students as well. And then we also have Holly joining from our team. I'll let Holly introduce herself.
Hi, I am Holly Joyce. I am the Marketing and Communication Specialist for SafeUT. I'm fairly new to the team in my first few weeks, so I'm really excited to kind of be more of a bystander watching this presentation. And I'm really excited moving forward about how we can grow the SafeUT program and help schools just like yours.
Wonderful. So I'm going to share my screen here for you all to see. Wonderful. All right, and here we go. So today we're really going to focus, it's kind of a bifold topic today. So definitely SafeUT, we will give an overview of SafeUT, how it works, what the workflow looks like, how it started, but also we really want to focus on your mental health as well. So so mental health supports and SafeUT. And if you haven't heard of SafeUT, it is a crisis chat and school safety tip line. It is an app that can be downloaded from either the Google Play Store or the App Store at no cost to you. And like I said, later in the presentation, we'll go through it a bit more. But here's what we're going to talk about today. So first, we're going to start with mental health and you. You know, just joining us today really shows that you take your mental health seriously, and that is wonderful because it is very important to take care of your mental health before even anybody else's, which is hard to do sometimes. And then we're going to talk about mental health in your child or your children if you have multiple students. We're going to segue into what is SafeUT, how did it get started, the overview of how it works, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end if we have any live questions tonight. So like I said, first, your mental health. Kathy Davis is the suicide prevention specialist over at the Utah State Board of Education, and she puts the analogy of mental health as if you were in an airplane. So if you're in an airplane and they're going through the demonstrations with you, and what do they tell you to do if there's low cabin pressure? They tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before helping others with their oxygen masks. So I really challenge you to think of mental health in the same way. Keeping yourself sane during these times will allow you to help others and support others' mental health. So these next few talking points come from Amanda McNabb. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She does work with SafeUT over at the Crisis and Diversion Services, and I am sharing her information on her behalf tonight. So I'm going to start first with this quote from Brene Brown, and she is a researcher, and she researches a lot about empathy and resilience and sympathy versus empathy, and she's had a few TED Talks, and she's just has an amazing outlook on that topic of mental health. And she has said that it takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. And I just want to think about that for just a second. So let's reread it and think about what that is saying. So it takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. So, you know, think in your life of what your day-to-day work life looks like. Are you taking the time to say yes to rest? Are you taking the time to say yes to play? While yes, our work is important, rest and play is just as important as well. So thinking about you and your mental health, here are some symptoms to be aware of that show ourselves that we might be struggling right now. So thinking about your daily activities and your daily life, are you having trouble focusing? Do you have anxiety that turns into feelings of being out of control? Yes, we all come across obstacles throughout our daily tasks, but do those obstacles seem so big that you start to feel anxious and get anxiety, and it is affecting the rest of your day? Strong feelings that interfere with daily activities, kind of the same thing. Having emotions that become difficult to manage. And that last one says feelings of hopelessness or helplessness. Do you feel like you are running uphill every single day? You know, we get it. Some days are going to be like that, but then in a quote unquote normal cycle or a healthy cycle, you know, sometimes you're coasting or sometimes you're going downhill and it's a great day and everything seems simple and easy. But maybe if you are continuously struggling, do you have that sense of working uphill day in and day out and not making any progress? Yeah. So self-compassion. This infographic is broken up into 3 different ideas. So there's mindfulness. It involves recognizing when we're stressed or struggling without being judgmental or overreactive. Are you present with yourself? Can you acknowledge your feelings and be okay with how you're feeling? Yes, I'm angry right now. How do we manage anger? Anger is okay. Being stressed and anxiety is okay, but are you able to manage it, I guess? And then self-kindness, being supportive and understanding towards ourselves when we're having a hard time rather than being harshly self-critical. Something that I always challenge myself to do is to talk to myself like I would talk to my friends. It's easy to be our own worst critic. Oh, I'm so stupid, I did that again. Would you say that to your child or to your student or to your spouse or to your sister or brother? Would you call someone stupid for making a mistake? No. So let's not call ourselves stupid for making a mistake. And if we catch ourselves doing that, we can self-correct in the moment. So, you know, it happens. If you call yourself stupid, I'm so stupid, I shouldn't have done that. Wait, I don't want to talk to myself like that. Instead, just rephrase some things. I made a mistake and it's okay. So again, be kind to yourself.
Can I jump in really quickly, Ashley, with just like a few things? One, make sure that you're on mute as a participant so we're not hearing any background noise from you. And then second, that practice of reframing those internal thoughts or external comments that we make is so important. And especially as parents, caregivers, educators, when we can model that reframing for our students, it really does make such a big impact on their own sense of self-compassion and kindness. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, absolutely. And then lastly, we have connectedness. Remembering that everyone makes mistakes, kind of like our last example, and experiences difficulties at times. We are not alone. It might seem like we're the only one struggling or the only one having a hard time or the only one with these feelings. And guess what? That is absolutely not true. It is okay to not be okay, but then, you know, reach out and connect with somebody and just have a conversation or ask for help or ask how someone else is or how they're feeling, because sometimes you might be surprised that the way you're feeling is similar or the same. So don't, as much as when we get frustrated and full of anxiety, and especially during these times, it's easy to isolate ourselves. Really challenge yourself to be intentional with who you're connecting with and staying connected. Okay, so this next thing, do we have any parents on live right now, Sierra? Yes.
We do, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Can you go find a piece of hard candy or something inside your house, whether that's a Tootsie Roll or a mint or a Werther's maybe, but you have any sort of candy or small treat that you can unwrap, okay? So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you can, if you're in the right environment, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Go ahead and find some sort of small treat to unwrap and enjoy that we're going to use here in the next piece. So it is 5:47. I'll give you till 5:50. Hello, thank you for joining us. I have given parents 3 minutes to go find some sort of candy or wrapped treat to use in the next section. So we have about 2 minutes left. We will come back together at 5:50.
And welcome to our new folks that have hopped on in the last few minutes. Just make sure you are muted as we dive into this next section.
We have about 30 more seconds and we'll come back together. All right, so it is 5:50. So hopefully we are all back here. Let me turn my camera back on for you guys. Here we go. All right, so hopefully you have some sort of candy or treat or Tootsie Roll or something in your hand that you can use in this next part here. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. It really kind of enhances the experience, but again, that is your choice. But this is what I would like you to do. So we're going to practice mindfulness, really being present in the moment. So place the wrapped candy in your hand. Imagine this is something you have never seen before. What I want you to do is begin to explore this new item by utilizing all your senses. So first, I want you to notice what it feels like. Does it have any weight? Is it heavy? Is it light? How does the outside feel? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it soft? Is it stiff? Is it hard? Now next, if your candy can do this, begin pulling the two ends apart. Or if not, maybe you can start opening the wrapper somehow. Is it easy to open this wrapper? Is it difficult? Did it get stuck? Does it make a sound? Do you enjoy that sound? Or does that sound bother you? So continue to slowly open the wrapper, take that candy or that treat out, and I want you to look at it. What colors do you notice? Are they bright colors? Is it brown? Is it black? Is it white? What is the texture? Now go ahead and smell it. Is it fresh? Is it maybe candy from Halloween last year? I don't know. Do you notice the smell? Now I want you to gently place the candy or the treat in your mouth. Take a bite of it if you can. Feel it, let it sit on your tongue. What do you notice? Do you have saliva that's increasing? Do you taste anything yet? Is it sour? Is it sweet? Go ahead and continue to chew, finish your candy. But I want to take a moment and congratulate yourself for taking this time to experience mindful eating. So you really gave yourself the time to experience the entire, experience of what eating is. You're feeling it, you're noticing the texture, the taste, the smell. You are present, and this is an example of mindfulness. So the purpose of this today is to really give you that experience. So when we say be mindful of your feelings, you have something to compare it to. So we challenge you moving forward to really, when you find yourself upset or anxious or angry or sad or depressed even, sit and be mindful of how you're feeling this. How are you physically feeling this emotion? How are you mentally feeling this emotion? And let your body have those feelings. So here is a self-care wheel that shows that there are 6 different parts to you and to your self-care and to being the best version of you that you can be. You can see there's psychological, there's emotional, spiritual, personal, professional, physical. That's a lot. That's a lot to handle. If we can do one of these things from this wheel to promote positive self-care, hopefully that allows us to be whole and to have good days. So for example, we have psychological there's journaling, there's therapy, there's drawing or painting, gardening, reading a self-help book for empowerment. We move on to emotional, affirmations and self-love and self-compassion. Are you one of those individuals that looks in the mirror every day and has a self-affirmation? That is practicing emotional self-care. Then you have spiritual, whether that's going into nature or being part of a spiritual community, singing or dancing or anything that brings you into culture and taking yoga. You have personal. This one's tricky, learning who you are and figuring out what you want in life. That's a big one, right? Plan short-term and long-term goals. Really focus on yourself. Get coffee with friends or get out of debt. Something personal for you that you will enjoy. Nobody else. Professionalism, right? Because we can't forget about the work that we do and the professionalism needing from us. Here's one of my favorites, is take time for lunch. How many of us get wrapped up into what we're doing that we are, shoving lunch into our mouths with one hand and responding to an email with the other? Like that's a lot. And that takes a lot of stress on our personal physical health and our personal mental health. So I challenge you, ready? 2 birds with 1 stone. I challenge you to take time for lunch and then mindful eating in that time. Really enjoy your lunch. Take vacations, take sick days. That's why you have them. And then lastly, physical, eating healthy and exercising and getting enough sleep and asking for nurture. Yeah, definitely. Turn off the cell phone, unplugging. Life is a balance and self-care is a balance, and this shows the different categories of that balance. It's easy to put our self-care aside when we're worrying about others, especially our children. But as not only do we need to self-care for ourselves, but we need to self-care in each of these categories. So moving into mental health in your child or your children specifically, so some of these talking points are coming from Kathy Davis, who I mentioned earlier about the oxygen mask analogy, and she works at the Utah State Board of Education as a suicide prevention specialist. So we can read this here: suicidal behavior in children is complicated. It can be impulsive and associated with feelings of confusion, sadness, anger. The so-called red flags people are cautioned to look for can be so subtle in children. While a young adult might say something like, "You'll be better off when I'm gone," a child might say something like, "No one cares if I'm here." So those types of soft clues are things that we need to be aware of and to look out for, and really take those, you know, "I'll be better off," you'll be better off when I'm gone type things seriously. And those are some red flags that we need to look into if we hear them from our children. So here's a kind of more of a broader list, and we'll go deeper into details here. But changes in the baseline behavior, both at school and at home. You know, are they acting different? You get that hunch, you get that gut feeling. You start noticing those types of things, that something's off. That's a red flag that connection needs to be had in some discussions or whatnot. Changes at school, preoccupied with death, we'll talk about here in that second. Feelings of hopelessness, child-sized will, so giving away prized possessions, that's a big one. If children are planning to not be around anymore, again, a very soft, subtle warning. Are they giving away their baseball cards? Are they picking up their room and giving away things in their locker, things like that? Writing or drawing about death or suicide, just another way for them to handle or manage those feelings. And then significant mood changes. So that baseline behavior that we were talking about, you can read some here. Changing in sleeping habits, you know, are they staying up all night, or are they just sleeping all day, going to school, coming home and sleeping again, and they're just tired? And yes, they're growing, but also if they're sleeping a lot, that is a sign that maybe something else is happening there. Changing in the eating habits in the same way, withdrawing and self-isolating the same way we do as adults, and they're not reaching out for connection. Headaches, stomach aches, other aches and pains that can't be explained. Believe it or not, the body physically reacts to mental health as well. So if our mental health is suffering, we could feel that pain physically, and it shows up in weird and odd places. So if you notice those types of things in your children or your child, again, that might be a sign that something else is going on there. So some changes at school, you know, dropping in their academic performance, self-isolating, withdrawing, so that decreased interaction with their teachers or kids at school, or their sports teams or their extracurriculars activities. Yeah, lack of interest of school, or really anything that really gave them life and, you know, a pop of personality beforehand. Not wanting to go to school, and then again, full circle here, loss of interest in those daily activities. And this is a little shameless plug for SafeUT there. That was our summer branding and messaging last summer. And when school shut down, that even though you guys were staying home, going to school at home, working from home, we were still there for you guys. And we'll talk about SafeUT here in a second. And here's that preoccupation with death. So it's natural for all of us to think about death at some times, especially when it happens within the family, or they hear about it on the news or other tragic events. But some students who are struggling do get preoccupied. Oh no, just a second. With death, and they could research it or talk about it, frequent questions about it, or looking up ways to die. Here are some other statements that are those soft signal clues. You won't miss me when I die. I wish I was dead. I won't bother you anymore when I'm gone. Things as such. All suicidal statements should be taken seriously and seek some evaluation for the child as well, because it's better to be safe and keep their health and their safety in our forefront.
And Ashley, I want to hop in really quickly again there. This is a particular one that comes up a lot in the day-to-day experience at school, right? A student will say, hey, this other student mentioned, I guess I'll just go kill myself, or something along those lines, right? And I think as parents and community members, one thing that can be helpful when you are hearing students, you know, your kids' friends, like whatever, maybe not your kids' friends, you'd be calling parents instead, but your students make these comments, one thing that would be really helpful is talking with them about the importance of this language, and that it's really important that when someone says something like this, that they get support and they get help. So I'm often involved in those conversations, right, as the school social worker. And I have that conversation with them, that we take all of these statements really seriously, and I try to gauge from them what is going on. But just know that that's a really helpful thing for you all to do in your families, as well as just have that conversation. If you're overhearing these things, checking in and saying, hey, we take it seriously. I take your mental health seriously, and want to make sure that we get you support if you need it.
Yeah, thanks, Sierra. I'm also going to piggyback onto that and say, you know, that discussion is hard, and talking about mental health is hard for us as adults. And then I couldn't even imagine having to talk about it with my child or my student or multiple students. But I'm not sure if you've seen some of the Live On campaigns and the billboards around the city here in Salt Lake, but the best way to know if they're thinking about suicide is to ask. And it is not true that if you ask if they're having suicidal thoughts, if they're not, you asking will not put that idea in their head. So it is not, it won't do any damage or any harm to ask that question. And again, we do know it's a difficult conversation, a difficult question to have. I will shameless plug here again. I actually worked with Kathy Davis. Last summer, we created a document specifically for parents, and I will send that over to you, Sierra, so you can distribute it out to your parents. And it is, it's coined Conversation Starters, and there is a letter on the front. If you're the type of person that just wants to read a message to your child, that works as well. But then on the back, there's also some key talking points and some do's and some please don't do's while having this conversation, and some prompts and some sentence frames to get this conversation started. So I will definitely send that over to you. If you can distribute it to your parents, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I will definitely send that out as part of our next mental health messaging.
Thank you. So the last one to dive deeper in is the changes of mood, which I'm sure is kind of self-explanatory, but here are just some quick reminders. If there is a previous suicide attempt, you know, unfortunately, children are at a greater risk of attempting again. So keeping that line of communication open there. Experiencing a loss, or like I said, if there is a death in the family, it could, you know, spark up some ideas or questions about death and plans on dying or whatnot. Bullying, family history of suicide or suicide attempts. If you notice violence, if there is an access to firearms, please lock them up. Please just take that option out of the equation for them. Impulsivity. We read earlier that sometimes suicidal actions with our youth is just on impulse. Acute rejection, feelings of hopelessness, and then another soft message here is feeling like a burden. So this brings us into SafeUT. So what is SafeUT? It is a crisis chat and tip line that provides real-time crisis intervention through texting or calling right from a smartphone or a desktop computer, because we do know that not all students, not all individuals have access to a device or a smartphone. So if they have access to a desktop, they can also have access to our clinicians as well. So who is on the other line? Master's level clinicians. and they are employed through the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, formerly known as UNI. We changed our name in January, and that institute is housed under the University of Utah. So these are not volunteers. These are master's level clinicians trained and professional individuals here to support your students. But guess what? SafeUT is available to parents as well. And that is the message that we want to spread tonight. And it's also available to the educators of that school too. So you have access, instant access, 24/7, 365 to master's level clinicians. They can help with anxiety, depression, bullying, relationship struggles, mental health or suicidal related challenges, much, much more. A common misconception with SafeUT is that it is only for those who are having suicidal thoughts, and that is just not true. We are a crisis intervention resource, and the definition of crisis is different for everybody. So SafeUT was started back in 2016. It was available to students and educators and parents because unfortunately suicide is the leading cause of death for youth in Utah. It actually ranks the charts for the nation for deaths for youth. And we work very closely with the state and legislators. We have one specific representative who supports us and one senator who supports us, and we work with the AG's office. So we developed funding from the state legislator in collaboration with, like I said, the state attorney general, so the AG's office. And then in 2016, it became available to students. So how the idea was even crafted was, back in 2015 and 16, and we had these statistics, unfortunately, the Huntsman Mental Health Institute folks realized that the youth was no longer calling our crisis line. So we did some evaluation and reassessment, and how can we meet kids where they are? What are they doing? They're texting. So they can text a master's level clinician right from their phone. So we're gonna watch a quick video here to just show you what SafeUT is all about.
And Ashley, I am not able to hear it, so I don't know if others are also.
Okay.
It might just be that
it's just, there's no words, it's just background music.
Okay, perfect. Then we're golden.
But it's like catchy background music. All right, so once you download the SafeUT app, again, either the Google Play Store or the Apple Store at no cost to you, this is what the home screen will look like and what you can do on it. You can start a chat, you can start a call, you could submit a tip, and you could view your previous history. If you don't have a device, like I said, the chat and the tip functions are also available on our website, and you can see there in red at the bottom. So as long as individuals have access to a desktop computer, they can reach us as well. So once you download the app, it will ask you your status. We have primary education students, we have higher education students, and then if you yourself are using the app, you would choose the parent, guardian, educator button. How SafeUT works is that schools need to enroll in SafeUT, and then once they enroll, their students, their educators, and their parents have access to our clinicians, like I said, at no cost. So all students, so whether they are K through 12 or higher ed, if they were to choose those two statuses, we will ask them to select the school that they attend. And that is because when a school does enroll, they specifically assign a few workers at that school, so educators or counselors or administrators, to be a SafeUT contact. And if we are chatting with a student, we know nothing about them except what school they go to. But let's say they are in an immediate need situation where we need law enforcement or we need to know where they're at or who they are. We contact the school first to get more information on them and try to send and get help along the way. So that is why we ask for the schools for the students. It's a safety net for us. But if you are signing in as a parent, guardian, or educator, we will not ask you what school you are affiliated with. So once you go ahead and sign in, like I said, this is what the home screen looks like. And you can just click the Start a Chat button. It prompts you, how are you feeling today? And this person here says, I am thinking about hurting myself and really need to talk to somebody. You will get an automated response, which is, thank you for reaching out. We'll be right with you. But our clinicians are averaging an initial response time of 30 to 40 seconds. So once you start chatting with us, you will be talking to a real live person, master's level clinician, within 30 to 40 seconds. And then it's just a two-way conversation, just like texting, but within the app. This is a success story that a student was using the chat feature. I'm not sure if anyone heard about this story on the news. It was back from last October, but a young girl was chatting back and forth, and she was an imminent risk. She was in the middle of her suicide attempt and chatted out with SafeUT. This clinician that was talking to her contacted the school, got some much needed information to get her some help, and they were able to save her mid-attempt, and she was in the hospital recovering for a few days, and but now since then she has been doing a lot better, and she was able to, that story was about her meeting up with the clinician that saved her life. So definitely the chat is instantaneous, and we have had a number of life-saving interventions. Our clinicians average just over one life-saving intervention a day. So back to the home screen, we have Start a Call. You hit the Start a Call button. Our crisis line number will pre-populate for you. You hit call and you're just talking on the phone with our clinician. Next, we have Submit a Tip. So back to the home screen, you'll hit Submit a Tip, and we ask for the event category. Numerous categories there for you to choose from. If you feel like the tip that you want to share with us does not fit into any of those categories, we do have an other option. And then we ask for as much information as you know or the student knows about the tip that they are trying to submit to us. So are they worried about a friend? Tell us who, tell us why, tell us what was said, tell us when it was said. Did they see something about a potential school threat on Instagram? Tell us who posted it, when it was posted, what they're planning. As much information, the more information that we get as clinicians on our side, the more we can help. And here is a quick success story through the tip feature. A mother of a student was struggling with mental health. The mother of a student, my apologies. And she stated, I thought he and I were in a good place. Without me knowing, he went on Instagram and posted 3 back-to-back messages stating he was going to kill himself. His friends saw the post and immediately sent tips to SafeUT. Now, I'm going to preach to parents here just as I preach to students, and we share this example with students as well, is that it takes a village, and it takes everybody looking out for everybody to keep everybody safe. Students are only in school so many hours, especially this past year. A lot of our students have been doing school from home. So there's only so much educators can see and educators can do. But once that bell rings in the afternoon, now it's on to parents, you know, looking out and whatnot. But you guys are also still working or at jobs or running to soccer practice and whatnot. And so kids are also responsible for helping out kids as well. And especially with social media, that is their instantaneous way to protect each other, I guess. So here, for example, again, saw posts and immediately sent tips to SafeUT. We contacted the police. We were able to get the student immediate help. I'm amazed at the efficiency of SafeUT. From the initial post to the officer knocking on the door was less than 10 minutes. So part of the tip feature is a tipster is able to attach screenshots as well. So for example, if these 3 back-to-back messages on Instagram were posted, they could each be individually screenshotted. And as you are submitting this tip, there is a place for you to add attachments, and we can view those attachments as well. And then another reason why we have schools promote people to SafeUT contacts as well, because when we get tips sent in, when we send them over to the schools, now we know somebody is following up with that appropriately. So back to the homepage, we have view existing. When you first download the app, we do ask you to create a code, your own personal code, because if you do want to view your, the chats that you've had previously or the tips that you have submitted previously, we ask that you, put in that code to protect your privacy, and then that screen on the right, you'll be able to see all your past histories with us. So here, just a little bit on our end of how the SafeUT workflow looks. You'll see here what someone can call in or someone can text in, whether that is for support and help or for the tip feature as well. And it goes to one of our clinicians. Again, master's level clinicians, I cannot say that enough. While they're talking to you or the student or the individual, they're having a fluid conversation, but they're also doing a clinical assessment as well. And our clinicians try to give the individual as much empowerment as possible to, hey, can you make a plan? Can you go see your counselor? Can you go talk to your parents? They try to put they put them in the driver's seat, really. But, sometimes as they're doing those assessments and they feel the individual is at, an imminent risk, we will call in for help. And these 4 examples here you see, we can call the school for help. And they can help us contact parents for help. We can also call law enforcement if we need a welfare check or whatnot. But we also have an MCOT here. Now, MCOT is the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team, and they are right here in downtown Salt Lake City. You guys are very close to them. It is a wonderful resource for you at no cost. So what the MCOT team is a mental health 911. So, there are some situations where something might be happening in your home or in your household and you need some help, but, maybe a police officer doesn't quite belong in that situation. If you can call us, or if you want to call MCOT yourselves, there is 2 or 3 of them will show up to your house in an unmarked car. They are in normal clothes, but they are there to help you get through the crisis, through the mental health crisis. There is no law enforcement involved. Like I said, it is truly a 911. So we also can use them to send them to homes before. We've sent them to schools before to really help the student in need. Here are just some additional resources for you. Yes, SafeUT is there, but we also have the state crisis line if you are in crisis, or we have the warm line, which not a lot of people know about, but if the crisis line is a hotline, the warm line is just a step down of, I'm not in immediate crisis, but I really just do need to talk to someone, and that is what our warm line is for. The Strong Recovery Project is right there. The Emotional Help Relief Hotline, SAMHSA, My Strength, Live On. Again, that's the organization with all of those turquoise billboards around the city, and then Healthy Minds Utah. Sierra, if you want a copy of this presentation or these resources, I can send that over to you too.
Sounds great. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your time today. I know time is invaluable, especially at the end of the school year right now. This is the SafeUT email. It's kind of like our customer support email. So if you have any questions later that you might think of, or if you need some additional resources, feel free to email us. And then that phone number there, again, is the SafeUT customer service, I would describe it, phone number. You won't be calling a clinician with that phone number, but instead you'll have me on the other end. So feel free to call that or email us if you have any questions after tonight. With that being said, I do want to respect your time. We have about 8 minutes left. Do we have any questions from anyone that are here tonight?
And I do have to apologize, the chat feature, I think I disabled that because when I'm on my Zoom calls with kiddos, I disable the chat feature, so there's not a lot of conversation happening.
I get that.
So I didn't change that up. So if you do have a question, please just unmute yourself to ask that question. I will say I have really enjoyed seeing our kids start to utilize this SafeUT resource a little bit more each and every year. It really provides an opportunity for students, and I think that they acknowledge it in themselves as well, but that tip feature is so, there's such a sense of like safety in that because it can be anonymous, like they can put their name, right? Like with people who know more information, they can put their name there, but when they're concerned about a friend, that is such a unthreatening way to share information with the school. And I am one of the contacts for SafeUT, so I get those notifications that's, say a tip was submitted, here's the details, I can assign it to myself and respond accordingly. So let's see if anyone has any questions.
So not so much a question, but I was going to type in the chat when you were going through the presentation. I was like, she disabled it.
No, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say, I do think it is a great resource. My daughter has utilized it, and I was very appreciative of, the conversation that they were having with her this weekend over some issues, some concerns. Helping her work through that, moms are moms, right? And so just hearing it from another person is always helpful, right? We may be saying the same thing, we may be saying it a little differently, but it reinforces what we're saying, making them feel heard in various ways. So I appreciate you guys putting this together.
Thank you. Yeah, the folks on the other end of the phone calls and the texts are truly remarkable. And I say that with a little bit of, I should probably be clear that I also worked for SafeUT for a while, a handful of years ago. So I know a lot, well, I think I still know a lot of the folks that are up there, and they really are remarkable. Again, master's level clinicians, they know what they're talking about, and they are exceptional at providing that validation to our students. So they're really, really spectacular. And this service is wonderful. It, again, non-threatening. A student can share information about themselves or someone else in a pretty safe way. I've had a lot more students witness something on the playground or hear something in conversation and decide to share it via SafeUT because it takes them a little bit more out of the equation. So super helpful.
And I do want to, give Utah a huge pat on the back as well, because this is currently the only reporting application that is answered by clinicians as opposed to law enforcement in the nation.
That's awesome.
Yes, so I think it is a huge thing that we have at our fingertips here. And parents, I'll just say one last thing. It's kind of twofold for you that yes, you can use it if you are in a state of crisis and you need to talk to somebody, but we are also here if, you know, it's hard being a kid in today's day and world, which means it's hard being a parent in today's day, in today's world. So if you see or notice your kids are struggling with some things and you just need a support or help with somebody to ask resources from, you know, this is what's going on, what's the best resource in the community, because sometimes having a huge list of resources is just as overwhelming as having none at all. So feel free to chat in with us and say, this is what's happening, what resource can I use? We are also there to provide that information for you as well. So how you can use SafeUT is actually twofold here.
Yeah, it's really spectacular. And then as we close out, I will just say that our last mental health message for our students will be delivered to them next Monday in their classrooms. For students in grades K through 2, the video will just be on like how to talk to people and ask for help and listen to others. In grades 3 through 6, I do describe and kind of walk them through the process of using the SafeUT app. That video is already linked into Parent Square if you wanted to review what I'll be showing students. And then this video will be up for parents to review within 24 hours. So thank you, Ashley and Holly, for joining us and for everything that you do with the SafeUT team for our students, our families, and our educators. Parents, please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns or would like any support in anything at all in these last 2 weeks of the school year. And then we will circle back and get right on track again with the 2021-22 school year coming up in a few months. So with that, thank you again, Ashley and Holly. Have an incredible rest of your night, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having us, and please let us know how we can support you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.